Typically, we say hello. They tell me what they want to work on. It could be anything. It could be anything from a sore thumb to trying to clear. I had a client who didn't like the way her husband chewed and the way her mother said S's. And it was this thing called misophonia. I didn't even know this thing existed. And she was told from all the specialists, there's nothing they can do about it. You're stuck with it. It cleared it.
Mm.
So they could work on anything. I had a woman that her child had separation anxiety from the mom. I had a woman that she was afraid to fly. She's flying comfortably now. It helps with phobias. So basically, they just tell me, I ask them to tell me their greatest emotional or physical discomfort, and we work on that.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and I'm excited to have you join me as I interview community members and business leaders from the communities in which I live, work, and serve through my business, Kooler Garage Doors. We're going to bring you highlights on characters in our communities. Why? Because community matters, and I want to know more about who is behind our business and leadership in order to understand and support the community fabric that our relationships make up. And collectively, we can build stronger communities that support our lifestyles, our youth, and our health. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today, I'm sitting down with Lynn Tucknies, who is a certified emotion code and body code practitioner. And Lynn, I'm really excited for our conversation. I know we had moved this multiple times, so it's great to be here. This is actually one of very few recordings I've been doing in these last couple of months. So I'm just very appreciative of you and your time. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here, Matt. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go.
It will. Where are you beaming in from?
I am in British Columbia, Canada, in actually the Fraser Valley. That's about 3 hours from Seattle.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in that area?
I did not. I grew up in Coquitlam, so more of the mainland.
Okay.
Yeah, Coquitlam and Port Moody area. Yeah.
So how might we lock that in? So we're in Canada, and I'm just unfamiliar with the territories up there. So you say more mainland. Obviously, BC is on the west slope, on the west.
Oh, we just call it the mainland. So I'm in the Fraser Valley, and that's called the mainland. So it's still about 3 hours away from Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up about an hour away from where I am.
Copy that. Cool.
Born in Ontario, moved to BC when I was 3, but I grew up in Coquitlam and Port Moody.
Right.
There
on.
you go.
Right on.
Yeah.
How was growing up in BC?
It was good. Yeah. I love the environment. I love the mountains, the weather. I even like the rain. I know it sounds weird, but I do like the rain. It makes everything all clean and fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up with basically a single mom. So I had my dad around till I was 7, then off he went to a second wife to go live on a big farm in Ontario. And I grew up with my mom and my brother. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Kooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
So emotion code and body code, I want to get into that in a little bit. Prior to that though, can you build out the context? Like how did this find you or you find it? And how does this just resonate with who you are right now? Like, what was it in childhood or college or any of the journey that kind of brought us here?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I remember being, this sounds weird, okay, and I don't even know why this is coming up in my memory, but I remember being a little kid and Tony the Tiger, the Frosted Flakes box.
Yeah.
I would sit there and I would look at him and I was sure I could make his eyes move. I was sure I could make him look from side to side. I don't know if every kid does that.
Gotcha.
But I was always aware of energy, always aware of energy. And then, you go through life and you do all the things that you do and you do all the things that are placed before you. And then I, had some huge limited beliefs in my life. And I was my big concern was making money. So everything focused on making money, having the jobs, having extra jobs, just making money. Every job I took was all about making money. Then I became a single mom. And that even became more so. I had to put food on the table. I had to make sure my kid had nice clothes, decent clothes. And again, it came about making money. So I was basically in survival mode at that point. No longer thriving, just in basically survival mode. And then when I was in my 20s, I did a lot of Bob Proctor things and Louise Hay things and all of that. But when I got married, all that dropped by the wayside. Then divorced and then in struggle mode. So then I just basically started getting back to where I was before and growing and growing and growing and knowing that there's all different possibilities and we don't have to be stuck in our limitations that we place on ourselves. I was doing all kinds of work. What I realized was there was more I had to get at. I did all the affirmations. I did all the rewriting of the stories. I did all the mirror work, everything. And I felt that there was more I had to get at, but I didn't know how I was going to get at it. Then one day, a friend said to me, I'm going for an emotion code session. I said, what's that? And she said, they just do a session and they release all the emotions that you have going on within you. And I said, well, that sounds terrible. I said, because then what's going to happen with all these emotions? They release fear, they release anxiety, they release worry. And then what happens? And she said, Lynn, they're gone. They're completely gone. I said, how do you feel after a session? She says, I feel amazing. I said, really? I said, how do I find out about this? So she told me it's Dr. Bradley Nelson that created the modality. I could get it on YouTube. I looked it up. You have to know how to do muscle testing. And she explained this to me. I looked it all up on YouTube and no kidding. Within 15 minutes, I was doing sessions on myself. It came to me so easily.
And so
I ordered the book. I read the book 3 times. I was doing sessions on myself every single day. Now, I have a birth mother who I know everybody does, but she didn't raise me. I was adopted. And I talked to her maybe once a month. Now, this woman had a lot going on emotionally. And when I would talk to her every month, it was always a lot of issues that she was dealing with, and maybe not the most positive. So I talked to her at the beginning of June. I was doing all these sessions on myself, also clearing inherited imbalances from her. And when I talked to her at the end of June, she was a different person. She was happy. She was light. And she had no idea why.
Okay.
And I thought at that time, oh my goodness, it's because of what I was doing for me. I was also clearing from her. There's all these imbalances that we could get from our parents and parents before them. And I noticed such a difference in her. I felt a difference in me. She didn't even know what I was doing. And I was thinking, wow, this is incredible. Look at how it has affected her. And she didn't even know what was going on. And that's when I realized, okay, this is real. This is really real. About a week prior to that, I was walking down a path and I saw a snake. And usually I would be very afraid of a snake and I'd scream and I would jump and I would run. I'd walk by this snake and I went, that's a snake. Holy, what is going on? I'm not even afraid of this snake. I've been afraid of snakes my whole entire life. I couldn't believe it. And then I realized I just did a session on myself on fear. And I went, oh my goodness. Then I talked to my birth mother. Then I was thinking, okay, this is real. So I started doing it on every single person that would allow me to do it on them. And I was certified. Actually, 3 years ago, 2 days ago, I was certified for the emotion code. Then I had to do the body code because I needed to teach. I needed to do more for my clients. I got clients right away. And a year ago, this very day, I quit my corporate job and I've been doing this full time.
It's amazing. Amazing. All right. So let's unravel this a little bit for some listeners that may not have the experience around energy work. What is it? So we're using muscle testing. We're unraveling energetic bundles, if you will. Like, why is this significant? Like, my body is this physical form, right? Do ancestors or past lives really attach? What is it that we're unraveling? Is there a specific it?
Yeah. So think of your body like, okay, so first of all, let's think about this. You've had a really tough day and you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and your shoulders are tight. How many days have you come home from work and you have a headache from all the BS that you've had to deal with? Many times. That happens to people many times, right?
Yeah.
So if there's any imbalances in your body, you will feel it physically or emotionally. You'll feel it by triggers, like being afraid of a snake, for example. Or if somebody looks at you that certain way that maybe your mother looked at you when she was mad at you. Or maybe they say your name in a certain way, Matthew, with your middle name. It brings on an emotional response inside.
That's right.
Think of your body. So say you're 5'8". Okay, say you're 5'8" in height, and there's a glass jar. Okay, this glass jar is your body. Now, as we're with the past imbalances, meaning the inherited ones, that comes along as part of our DNA, just like whether you have blue eyes or brown eyes or blonde hair or black hair is part of our DNA. It's honestly, our DNA. So these past imbalances can be inherited to us. So every time I say an imbalance, it's like a handful of jelly beans thrown in that glass jar, which is your body, okay? So inherited imbalances from past generations. And I have cleared an imbalanced, a trapped emotion 42 generations back.
Yeah.
That is so wild. So we can have inherited imbalances. We get our own trapped emotions. We can absorb emotions from other people. We can share emotions from other people. And now we're only 5 years old. And let's say those handfuls of jelly beans that I've been putting in the jar is now up to your waist. Okay, now you're 20 years old. You've had lots of experiences in life, and more handfuls of jelly beans are going in. So now let's say you're going along, you've lost, let's say something happened and someone lost their job, or they've lost a parent. Things happen in life, and it's hard for us to process all these things. And what could happen is it could get easily trapped in our body, these imbalances. Not everything gets trapped in our body, but it does. If your body starts responding energetically, either with anger or shaking or tenseness, there's a good possibility you've trapped it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
And now you're like 30 years old and you're 5'8", and that jar of jelly beans is up to maybe the bottom of your ear. And then something big could happen and you're wondering, why aren't I dealing with this well enough? Well, it's because there's hardly any bandwidth to deal with these things that are coming up in your life. Now, with a session, we actually take those handful of jelly beans out of the jar, which gives you more room to deal with things. You're less emotionally charged. You can deal with things easier. I had a lady who, she was 62 and her grandson had cancer. And she said, Lynn, she'd done sessions with me for 2 years. And she said, Lynn, I was able to deal with my grandson's situation and his father, which was her son, because she felt safe in her body, because she had a lot of bandwidth to deal with. She had more room. She felt safer in her body, so she was able to deal with things right away rather than stuffing them down, which is what all of us do. Yeah. We minimize all of our experiences. We stuff it down and say, oh, that was nothing, I can deal with that. We move on anyway. Well, this way, we don't have to stuff. We get to energetically clear this out. She felt safe in her body. She could provide a safe place for her son and her grandson and help them, because she didn't have to cope with what was going on inside her.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And we basically, for listeners, I mean, in some ways this could be, in the realm of woo. And yet,
Agreed.
Like, I have personally experienced your sessions, and I've felt of them. I've experienced that. I mean, the analogy of where you have more space to deal with whatever comes is real, right? If we unwind, even if it's in our lifetime's own meaning-making machine, where we're putting some kind of meaning to the tonality of mom's voice or the bank account register or whatever that can trigger these responses. If we don't have awareness of them, then they're just the habitual responses, and we go through the mechanical whatever. It could be an outburst, it could be a sore shoulder, it could be whatever, but it ultimately is, as I'm hearing, stuck energy. And through the work with you and what you do is we're able to clear this, unwind it. So there is more flexibility. There is this ability to respond with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
What ultimately does that gain us?
Oh, freedom. Are you kidding me? What ultimately does that gain us? That's freedom. There was this, I have to tell you, there was this client, she was 66 years old. And she says, Lynn, I just feel so afraid all the time. I said, okay. So we did a session on that. All right. So she had been through a lot of talk therapy, and talk therapy is wonderful. Okay. But this is when this modality really showed me how powerful it is. I didn't know about the situation. Everything in her session came up at age 19. I know when we did Matt's session, he didn't want to know about ages, which is great. A lot of guys don't want to know about ages. I don't like to know ages when I do my session. I just want the stuff out of there. So she wanted to know the ages. So age 19, everything was coming up. About the 5th session, and she said, Lynn, I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing happened at age 19. I said, I don't know, Laura. I just work here. I don't know. Anyway, so we're doing this. And by about the 12th session, or probably about the 8th, 9th, 10th imbalance, she says, I know what happened at age 19. She said, I cannot believe I forgot. I said, what happened? She says, I was pregnant. My parents brought me to a hospital. Remember, she was 66. And when she was 19, this happened. They brought her into a basement. Apparently, this sounds horrific to me. They drugged her, put her in the basement alone in the dark where she labored and had a baby, then put the baby up for adoption. She said, I went for so much therapy on that. I understand why it happened. I'm okay that it happened. Cognitively, I understand all of it. She was so surprised that this was energetically stuck in her body.
Hey. That's significant.
And I was too, because I was thinking, okay, this just is another level. It helps us clear those imbalances. She felt safer after that. No kidding, she felt fear.
Yeah. Interesting. What does a typical engagement for your clients look like?
Typically, we say hello. They tell me what they want to work on. It could be anything. It could be anything from a sore thumb to trying to clear. I had a client who didn't like the way her husband chewed and the way her mother said S's, and it was this thing called misophonia. I didn't even know this thing existed. And she was told from all the specialists, there's nothing they can do about it. You're stuck with it. It cleared it.
Big.
So they could work on anything. I had a woman that her child had separation anxiety from the mom. I had a woman that she was afraid to fly. She's flying comfortably now. It helps with phobias. So basically, they just tell me, I ask them to tell me their greatest emotional or physical discomfort, and we work on that.
Yes, sir.
And then the nice thing is, this isn't really talk therapy at all. We just work on what they want to work on. We clear it, and I tell them to let it go. It's not their job to go back and investigate the issue.
Yeah,
Once it's cleared, it's cleared, and it's gone for good.
Yeah. Is there, do folks come to you for a single session? Is there a rhythm of multiple? How does that play out?
It depends on what they're looking for. I often have clients that come once a month. Very rarely do I have a client that just comes once. I would say 70% of my clients come once a week. Sometimes they're just hanging on. And then we work every single week, and they move from barely hanging on to striving to thriving.
That's amazing.
One client, she was afraid of vomiting. 24/7, she was worried about vomiting. I didn't even know that was a thing either. And she was a travel agent. And she had to travel. She had to go on boats and planes and arrange all these trips. She was heavily medicated the entire time.
Okay.
If somebody near her vomited, she would go on a charcoal diet for 2 days and drink water, like liquid, for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's it. Take charcoal tablets and liquid diet for 2 days because she was so worried about vomiting. And I'm not making this stuff up. This woman was seriously living this way. And now she doesn't think about vomiting anymore. And she actually bought that travel agent that she was working at for 20 years.
Wild. So you obviously see real transformation in this work.
I really do. I can remember when my clients come weekly, I remember them. I always have a snapshot little video in my mind of how they were at the beginning. This one woman, she was in her 50s and she had a lot of issues with her mom and she didn't really believe in herself a lot. And now she was able to forgive her mom, who had long since passed, and release those limited thoughts that her mother had upon her. And she's spreading her wings and she's just living her life.
It's awesome.
I can see these little visions of them at the beginning to where they are now. And it's incredible to watch this transformation.
Yeah. Yeah. Transformation's beautiful. What are you excited about? What happens for you down the road in the future?
Oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to be doing the Discover Healings, coming up with the belief code. So I'm very excited about that. I will be certified for the belief code. So there's the emotion code and the body code, and then the belief code. I can work with people's beliefs by using my modality now.
Good.
But we have to be pretty much aware of what their beliefs are. This program will bring us to the person's belief and change them and install a new one, which will be very powerful and quick.
Wow.
So I'll be one of the first certified practitioners. There'll be a few other ones, but the bulk, we're meeting in Vegas and getting this done in 3 days. And I'll be trained from Dr. Bradley Nelson.
That's amazing. I mean, you talk about transformation and, with unwinding energy, and now the belief component of it is just another next level, because obviously transformation is, I think, real transformation is impacting a person's being, like who they are, their identity, and the beliefs are so much a part of that. And the work of changing our being is real hard work. Like, it sounds easy to be like, oh yeah, I just want to be like that person or whatever. But man, to change an identity, to go to that belief level, like, that's real.
It's real. It's real. I mean, we can do it now, but it takes repetition, right? It takes so much repetition if you just do it on your own.
Good.
It takes a lot of repetition and replacing it, not so much changing it, but replacing it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing. We're demagnetizing that old belief and installing a new one.
Yeah.
Much quicker than you and I could do it just with pen and paper or actions.
Very interesting.
And it can be done. It just takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
The other way. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with this. And, it's not woo-woo. It is real. And everything in this, everything you're looking at is made of energy. We're made of energy. So why can't we change it? Of course we can.
Yeah.
And think about it. The people that programmed us, our parents and grandparents, they only knew what they were taught. And what could possibly go wrong? We get this perfect, beautiful little baby in our arms, and we're imperfect humans trying to raise a baby. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay.
And we only know what we were taught. So this way we can deprogram. We can change our beliefs, which will only help our future generations as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's beautiful work, Lynn. I am really excited to learn more about the belief code that got my
I will be able to tell you all about it at the end of January. I will be certified. I can't remember when I'm going. It's 18th to 20th of January. Anyway, by January 30th, I'm certified. So
beautiful.
Yeah, I'll hit you up and I'll give you a sample.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that. For listeners, Lynn, how do folks reach out to you and learn more about these codes?
Well, you can reach me at lynn@innerherohealing.com. Or you could go to my website, www.innerherohealing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely include those in our show notes. And just kind of
can I ask you a question, Matt?
Yeah.
How did you find your session? We cleared your heart wall. We did all kinds of things on you. How did that change your life?
That's a really good question, Lynn. I think that it allowed me to be more bold. And one part of my journey, and this is a part of it, my work with you, I work with a lot of different coaches, practitioners, and it's been the delayering of the onion. And I can recognize where I get conditioned responses, like one of them that has been a strong presence in my life until recently, but it still pops up, is the pleaser, right? I wanted to please my mom. And that drove me into different career paths, and it held me back on some entrepreneurial pursuits. Like I didn't want to ruffle people's feathers because I wanted to be the pleaser. Some of that was unwound in our sessions. You mentioned the heart wall. I imagine the heart wall is like this fortress that we put around our feels. And to remove that places me more into the arena. In the arena of vulnerability, of courage. A lot of people choose not to play in the arena. In my past, I've chosen not to, right? I've numbed out. I've done other things to distract of whatever. But unraveling that, places me in the arena where I feel more, which comes with the really highs and the really lows. And the awareness component is to blend those, to know that one does not exist without the other. And I can collapse those into a moment of presence and love. And ultimately, the gift that I think that happens for the folks that choose to play in the arena is a bit of quote unquote freedom and fulfillment. It makes it worth playing. It makes it worth showing up. Even though there's some really hard days and moments and it feels like crap, there's going to be really amazing days and moments that feels amazing. And just the recognition of that journey is what I just call life.
Love that. And I love what you said when we cleared your heart wall. I'll never forget this, and I've quoted you a few times. I don't know if you remember this. I said, Matt, so how do you feel now that we've done this and we cleared your heart wall? You said, I feel like I could show up in the arena without a mask. Is exactly what you said.
Yeah. My journey, I don't know if this is human journey or just mine specifically, but the more I learn to show up fully, ultimately it's that fulfillment piece again. It just feels better, right? It's the ability to make real action and change in the world, because otherwise it's just like playing on the sidelines and hesitation and self-doubt and fear run and drive the bus.
And show up as your authentic self.
Yeah. And the
as your
other
authentic self without the
that's it.
concern of what other people think of you. Because, hey, this is me. This is what I do.
That's right. That's right. The interesting thing, you mentioned like that quote you mentioned of like being able to be seen without a mask. Like I've been working with a great coach, and we've been uncovering some survival mechanisms. And these are the versions of Matt, like the Joker, who we've recently identified, General Teddy Bear, who was identified months ago. But these are the folks that come in and they are the masks. They're almost the shadow component, and they jump in and drive the bus. I don't want the Joker driving the bus of my company, like, right? So if we're not fully aware and clearing these items out so that we can jump in without the mask, which takes vulnerability and a shitload of courage, but it's also like where the realness comes from. Like that's authentic. This is what people want these days. And, if we're not doing that, we're going to have some version of us that does want to be seen. It just might be a shadow version. It might not empower us. It might not, be all that we could be as individual spirit expressions.
Agreed. Yes, I agree. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating work.
It is. It is. And the more we get to show up as ourselves, that's how we were designed to be us, not all these other layers and masks and that we put for our own coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah. 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 It really is fascinating. And there's so much depth that goes in there. We're living in a construct of thought. And that's a deep topic. We could probably go another 5 hours on this one, but if we just recognize that we're living in a construct of thought, then we can get to the point where thoughts are things, and we can start gaining control of our own destiny, of our own fulfillment. Just the fact that we all have to go and earn $1 in wherever you are located in the world, but for us, a capitalistic construct, right? Like there's certain rules to the game, and there's certain components and theories that work well in the game. A fish swims, but a fish can't jump. And so I've just been looking at this and going in personality traits, and there are some personality traits that can actually be promoted better than others in capitalistic environment. And so if we as individuals understand this and we do our work and are clearing out of the inner work, then we actually have choice. And we don't have to be a victim of quote unquote system. We can choose how we want to play within the system with our own gifts and traits and crush it for ourselves by our definition, and not allow another construct to impact our being.
That is music to my ears. Oh my gosh, that is powerful. No joke. It truly is. And thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. You've nailed it. That's the bottom line. Thoughts are things.
Yes.
And when we sense a thought coming in, if it is not a good thought, people, we can honestly just reject it. We don't have to we don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
We're allowed to accept and reject, including if someone's talking to you and they have a totally different belief system. You can listen to them and you can say in your mind, that may be true for you, but not true for me. Or if you're feeling anxiety coming, because you can sense it, and you can say, no, I reject you. I am not going to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our conscious mind allows us to accept or reject. Right. And a lot of people don't do that. That would be my tip for everybody. Be aware of that. You don't have to accept everything that is put in front of you, because your own soul's calling may be different than Marianne's soul's calling or Joe's soul calling. So that may be true for them, but not for you. And we don't need to accept these other beliefs that do not serve us.
Yes.
That do not allow us to live without the mask.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a perfect point there, because the work that you bring into the world and for individuals removes what at one point in time they have accepted and they no longer need to hold on to.
Yes, that's what this is about. And it allows us to shine in the person we're meant to be. And you know what? The person we are right now, we're going to be even a better version of ourselves in 5 years from now.
That's right.
That's my goal.
That's the game.
Yeah.
That's it. Lynn, absolutely beautiful. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect. And I do truly appreciate what you bring into the world. It's impacted myself, my family. I know we'll have future conversations, and
Love that.
I'm going to encourage everyone listening to go to your site, check you out, grab a session.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, Matt. It's been great talking to you.
Absolutely.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. We count on your subscriptions, your likes, your shares, and I encourage you to do that now. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, lower right-hand button. If you're on audio, download this, share it, and we look forward to having you on the next one.